So we have a new administration, or you have a new administration.
No, we didn't burn our cards. We didn't burn the cards, the birth certificates. We still pay taxes. It's we. Even though he's more y'all's than ours. Oh, help us, Lord.
So there's a new administration in town. Does it make you want to get down here a little bit sooner? Or y'all still gonna tough it out? Your answers after this. Welcome to the 7997 podcast. I don't know, podcast, show, episode, whatever. Just tune in. Chris and Jackie, your hosts here.
Hey guys, good to see y'all. Not under these circumstances, but we love y'all.
And as always, trying to get closer to each other and closer to you guys. And maybe closer to you guys means it's time for y'all to get out of the United States. I'm sure plenty of people are thinking of that, maybe a little bit more seriously now, after getting a chance to kind of see what the administration is doing, has done, is planning on doing.
Popping all the way off.
All kinds of concerns on several different fronts, which is, part of the plan, the strategy is to make sure that you're hitting as many different fronts as possible so that at least as many of those things as possible will make it through. Plenty of things are going to be challenged between what Elon Musk and Trump is trying to do. People are trying to stop and put up roadblocks and sue and, do whatever they can do to kind of hold up some of this stuff. But there's so much happening, who's worrying about the paper straw dilemma?
And renaming the Gulf of Mexico. Really, guys?
I'm going to try and stop you from closing the Department of Education, but then the paper straws are going to slide through.
Right.
I don't know.
Who cares about that part? But yeah.
But I would say,
he's overwhelming us.
Do you think people are more excited, more motivated to leave?
1,000% yes.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Actually, you may have observed this, but as soon as the election was over, literally you can go on Facebook and you could see in all the expat community chats, whether it's expats around the world, black expats, women travel, it didn't matter what landing page it was, but if it had to do with anything with traveling, quality of life, things like that, all the questions, that's what, and they always start this way. Hey guys.
I was just thinking about.
You can literally hear, But what I found to be interesting was most of the posts started like this. Hey guys, over the past couple of years, I've been thinking about moving and traveling abroad. Now that he's back in, I'm ready to go. That is exactly how the post started.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, because the world is becoming so much smaller, because you have such a easy viewpoint into see what's happening around the world through social media and YouTube and all these other platforms. Travel YouTubers are off the chain now. You can see, we just watched a video on Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Who's ever thinking about going to Saudi Arabia for tourism? But the resorts that are there are out of this world. They're crazy. Oman, I didn't even know Oman was really a place.
Correct.
Where is it?
Correct.
So there's all these different places that now you see from your own viewpoint, sitting in your living room, that there is all these awesome things out there in the world.
Awesome places,
that you had the opportunity to go and explore and see and even possibly live there. But maybe you weren't motivated enough before to do it or didn't see a way out. And now it's like, I have to get out of this place.
Homie has motivated so many people, right? Yeah. I mean, you see it. They're taking buyouts that they may not get their money for.
A lot of people got notice already that they will not get money. They will get terminated. The buyout is not approved.
It's right. Exactly. Right. So it's like, what? But they are very motivated to get out, which is, it's heartbreaking.
Right. And my father used to work for the federal government, and he's one of the people that took an early retirement. So I understand the process of what is allowable and how they actually reduce workforce. They say, okay, we'll let you out. We'll let you retire early. You'll get retirement pay that's less than what you would get when you were older. You'll still keep your insurance and things like that. He was one of the people that took that and retired early.
Yeah.
But they don't offer you a buyout.
Right.
Basically, that was, hey, here, sign this paper saying you're going to quit. And you quit, and like, oh, we're not going to pay you nothing, and you're gone. Sorry.
Yeah.
So it was a setup the whole time. And like, people were calling this out that it was a setup beforehand.
Well, people were calling out that he was a setup before we all went to the voting booths.
Yeah.
Or not voted.
Yeah. So there's like there's a preponderance of things happening, and like he's touching so many different facets of society and the government that he's alienating so many different audiences.
Yeah, including his own.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. Yeah. Including his own. It's so interesting. Just last night was I think it was on CBS, and they were interviewing a coal mine inspector. We don't think about them.
Yep.
He's a federal worker. And guess what? He voted for the evil one, right? He's a federal worker. And he thought he was safe. You know, listen, guys, go ahead.
And like, you know, it's hitting farmers who are relying on subsidies from the government. I have a coworker who has a child that's trans, and she's like, how do I raise my child in this country that doesn't even say that she exists? You know what I mean? So like, there's all these different little facets of people that you are now alienating.
Teachers.
But to be honest, they don't really care about alienating people because their plan is not to ever be out of government. Their plan is to be in government in perpetuity. Not worry about the democracy. I'm going to now be the king, and I'm going to be here till I die, and then I'll pass it off to somebody else. And even speaking of that, his vice president, he said he won't pass it off.
Might not be him. He's like, that's normal.
Like, it's the guy that you ran with.
That's the normal.
He's your backup.
Right?
He said, I'm going to say one for my backup.
See.
I don't know. We'll
see. We don't know.
So maybe we'll see the first, president who fires his vice president. Stick somebody else in there. I don't know.
Help us, Lord.
Probably one of his kids or Elon or whoever. I don't know.
Wow.
But it is so much going on, and I feel for people who have to kind of be in this environment and be affected by the things that are going on. We were fortunate enough to get out early before, it all kind of happened. You kind of see the writings on the wall in the first administration when he first came in the first time. And I think his first sort of foray into government, he was looking at how do I change policies to my benefit? And then when he kind of lost the election the second time, he got people around him that understood how government works and basically wrote him an entire playbook. So if you get into office, here's how you break government. How you bend it to your will.
Yeah.
And like that combination of the exact fool that people will believe and the intelligent enough people who know the government inside and out and can break it, coming together to then have this administration who is now about, it's not about policies. I'm trying to tear down the government and reshape it in the way that I want it.
Right.
Which is
while benefiting.
And
helping his friends or the people in his social class or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. That's the scary part.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting also to see the, reactions to his particular type of governing, how it's affecting other leaders around the world who are now having to literally come on TV and clap back at Trump after he does something ignorant.
Like, when have you ever seen the Prime Minister of Denmark?
Right.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, and F you. What?
Yeah.
Who does that? Who has
I had no idea who the Prime Minister of Denmark was.
Didn't even know Denmark had a Prime Minister.
Yeah.
But they are coming back and it's like, no, we reject your ideologies.
Yeah.
But God bless them for doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And having the courage to say enough is enough, no. And you see that some of them they're now coalescing with themselves and going, we can't trust America. And that's, to me, one of the scariest things is that, and I don't know everything about everything. Let's just be abundantly clear. I pretend. However, no one does, right?
Yeah.
But what we know to be normal is now out the door, out the window, right? And we used to have what they call allies, and we're treating allies like enemies and enemies like allies.
Yeah.
So that is going to be a very difficult place to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's going to be it is becoming a very difficult place to be. Because I've even seen on some of the posts on Facebook, specifically for expat communities, expats are chiming in and going, hey, Has anyone been cussed out yet by a local? Has anyone, you know what I'm saying? Because now they're putting us all in that expat group, but it was specifically a Canadian, and I'm going to assume that they were white because they assumed that I was a gringo from America. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So that they were getting thrown under the bus because of Trump's actions.
Yeah.
You know, living abroad. And I found it to be really interesting.
Yeah, like you don't want to be put into a particular category of American anymore. Like
right.
Around the world, American has been seen as a positive thing.
Yep.
That perception is previously slowly changing. I think probably changing a little bit quicker now, mm-hmm. as America has sort of shifted its stance in the world and the way it wants to approach other people, thinking that, you know, Canada's going to be the 51st state. And there was someone from the military, I forget who it was, who kind of came out and was like, you know, if America wanted to, by force, conquer Canada, like, it would be impossible. Literally, the American military could not contain the city of Baghdad. Like, how difficult it is to contain a single city full of people and make them bend to your will militarily. They compare that to the entire country of Canada that has however many states Canada has. I'm sorry,
right.
Canadians.
And gugobs of their own armed forces.
Right. So, like, you know, you can make all these threats that you want to and say it should be, you know, offspring of the United States now, but like, what are you actually going to do to make that happen? Like, nothing.
Right.
They don't want that, and diplomatically, you're not going to make that happen.
Right.
And militarily, you're not going to make that happen.
Right, including Panama.
Right.
Greenland.
Yeah.
They're good. They are good, you know. Oh gosh. I want to make sure I say this, that as a believer, we're not supposed to move in fear. Now, that's just my own, you know, these are my ideologies. We're not supposed to move out of fear. We're supposed to have a sound mind and move with wisdom, be wise. Also, we need to make sure that we have knowledge and understanding. So for those of you guys out there, I just want to encourage you to, you know, not necessarily turn the TV off, but definitely streamline it, right? But just like we've been saying for months, and we've told you our story of why we left, it was because of him and the Pandora's box of evil that he opened up. You know what I mean? Because you can't outrun sin, you can't outrun violence, but we have societal norms. And what he did was he just blew it all up, right? We always knew that there was this, that, and the other, right? There's always racism, there's always sexism, and or classism, and all the isms, right? But he went and was like, it's all allowed now. You know why it's allowed? Because I am that. Right? He had no moral compass, so he was already jacked up from the start. And it is hard to be a hypocrite in that way, but he's done both. He's right? So it's not even about my political ideologies. He literally is a convicted felon. Right? So he has stolen, he has been convicted of sexual improprieties. He has admitted out of his own mouth that he will have his way with women. So then, you know, you get voted in, and it's like, well, what do you expect? You know, you're not expecting anything of any substance and character or moral value. You get what comes along with him. You get his baggage. And so he blew it all up. And so we've been encouraging you all to come along on this journey with us, see how we live, what we do, where we go, and not to force your hand to be like, y'all better get up out of there because you. No, it's not about that. It's just showing you that there is another side if you have the option.
Just to understand that there is an alternative,
right?
And like, not everybody has the privilege of this alternative,
right?
And like, we understand that is every year it gets more expensive. Every year it gets a little bit more difficult,
and he may not be helping. So poking the Mexican bear, right? And then the president and all they could go, you know what? Okay, cool. Well, we know you guys come here, so what we're going to do is make it more difficult. We don't know what is going to happen in the future for residency and, you know, even tourist visas. They could be like, we used to give you 180 days. Well, now we're only give you 7.
You know what day the hotel is kicking y'all out, and that's
That's
the same day we
right.
kicking you out.
That's right. You got to show proof of hotel and registration and your checkout date. We don't know what they could do. For this, especially these kind of episodes are cathartic for me. You know, to purge a little bit. I mean, even cry a little. You know, tear too. You know, because this is.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I wanted to say. Like this, I don't know if there's even a point to all this other than maybe asking you guys how you're feeling after, you know, the state of affairs are now with him in office. You've seen what he's really about, what he's trying to accomplish. For those of you that have made it out of the country, are you super excited the way we are that, hey, we get to miss some of that stuff? Are you thinking about leaving? If so, we're here for you. Consultation services, 7997.life. So this really feels more like a venting, purging, ranting session a little bit.
Because we're heartbroken and mind blown with y'all.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah. From a distance.
And of course, because we have so many friends and family that's still there. But we're not alone. Like, there are people who aren't Americans who feel exactly the same way. There are people who are marching around the world in protest of his regime. It's what it is. It's a regime.
What America does affects everyone around the world.
Everybody.
Yeah. Large ways and small ways. So.
And for better or worse, those are the systems that are in place. You know, and I think thoughtfully, maybe, you know, we could go through the line items and go, hey, you know, maybe we shouldn't be the big brother on this, or maybe we shouldn't be, you know, the bus driver in this situation. But just to go and blow stuff up is absolutely unacceptable because we're just hurting so many people.